Here we go. Money talk.
Hey, what's going on? This is Icon once again with another episode of Just Saying, where I will recap a week in wrestling for this week in wrestling. We're going to go through Raw, Smackdown, NXT, and I'll do some TNA for you towards the end of it. But right now, let's get started by starting off with the quote-unquote flagship show, and that was Monday Night Raw. Now, this show comes fresh off of the SummerSlam Brooklyn weekend, the SummerSlam Brooklyn NXT weekend, and apparently Finn Balor, during his match with Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship, blew out his shoulder, dislocated his shoulder. There were rumors and reports that after he took the Seth Rollins powerbomb into the barricade, that he did dislocate his shoulder. He ended up popping it back in and then finish the match, which, if that's true, I definitely got to give Finn Balor a lot of props. He's definitely a tough SOB to even go through something like that and to finish the match. And you can even tell because, and I think myself and ESP, we talked about it when we did our SummerSlam recap, after he won the Universal Championship and, he was celebrating with the crowd. You can see that he was kind of like cuffing, his arm in a little bit, and he only raised his left hand to the audience, but he never actually raised the title over his head because I guess he didn't want to show everybody that he was actually injured. But unfortunately, it turns out to be a little bit more serious than we thought, because they ended up stripping him of the title tonight on Raw. And after they stripped him of the title, they're now going to do another 2 rounds of Fatal 4-Way with, actually it's a little mini tournament where for a 4-match tournament where the competitors will fight to see who gets to go to a Fatal 4-Way to crown a new Universal Champion. Definitely sucks for Finn Balor because he was coming fresh out the gate. He was on a roll, hitting hard, but these things happen. Injuries happen. You got to live with it, and I like it because a lot of people are upset because they're blaming Seth Rollins, saying that he's reckless and that he injures people, which maybe there's some truth to that, maybe not, because he has put out a few people specifically with that powerbomb move that he does, but to me, it also adds, realism to the show. They say that this is supposed to be the reality era of wrestling, and, the reality of the situation is, these things happen. People get hurt. Matches don't go smoothly. People slip off turnbuckles. And, to see something like this happen for a person to, come fresh out the gate, have a shot at the championship, win the championship, but get injured during the match, I mean, that's real life. Those are things that happen in real life. So, hopefully the shoulder injury isn't that serious. I know Shelton Benjamin, his return was delayed because he had to get rotator cuff surgery as well. So, we just hope that the guy heals 100% and then he comes back 100% strong. But it'd be interesting to see who comes out of the this Fatal 4-Way now to crown a new Universal Champion. Now, right after that segment was over, the first match to take place to crown a new Universal Champion ended up being Sami Zayn, who did absolutely nothing on the actual SummerSlam card pay-per-view, which is really sad, versus Seth Rollins. And as soon as I saw this match, the first thing that popped in my mind was, okay, just have Seth Rollins win already so we can get this over with. And I hate when they do that. I hate when WWE they try to do these mini tournaments to crown a new champion, but the matches that they set up are just so ridiculously obvious. We all know Sami Zayn's not going to beat Seth Rollins. They're not going to have a Universal title picture without Seth Rollins. So, I mean, if anything, put people in the match where there's some interest as to whether or not this person's actually going to make it, because if all 4 matches, they have Enzo and Kaz in this tournament for no reason, and I feel like Vince McMahon is secretly trying to he's pushing Enzo and Kaz. He's secretly trying to break them up, and it's obvious that he's trying to push Big Kaz as a singles competitor, which would be stupid to break the 2 of them up. Although you can't hate on a singles push for a guy, but the 2 of them are strongest when they're together, and for them to get broken up is a bad move. But having Enzo and Kaz in a heavyweight championship match, in a heavyweight championship tournament to crown a new champion, when they lost their tag team match at SummerSlam doesn't even make sense to me. I mean, I can understand Jericho and Owens being in it because Jericho and Owens actually, they won their match, but these two guys, first of all, they're a tag team, they're not even singles competitors, and then second of all, they lost their match. If we're gonna give out title opportunities to guys that don't deserve it or guys that that lose matches, why aren't any members of the New Day in it? Like, why isn't Kofi Kingston in this in this tournament? And then you got Sheamus and Cesaro. They put the two of them in a 7-game series, in a 7-match series, after Cesaro had already beaten Sheamus twice previously. Then they want to have a 7-person series where Sheamus is leading 1-0, and from what my understanding is, the winner of their 7-game series is supposed to go on to get a championship opportunity. If the two of them are in a situation where they're fighting for a title opportunity, and then you have an opportunity now because there is no champion and the champion's hurt, just put Sheamus and Cesaro in the damn, in the title opportunity. Or make one of their best of 7 matches, make one of those matches, like put them in the tournament and make one of those matches part of their 7-game series. Like, to have the two of them not be involved, like it's like to have the two of them not involved and to put put Big Cass in it, like it's completely stupid. But I mean, in this match, no surprise, Seth Rollins gets the win and moving right along. Now the next match in the championship tournament to crown a new Universal Champion is Kevin Owens versus Adrian Neville, and I have no idea why. I mean, again, this is ridiculous. Like, just announce Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins as 2 members of the Fatal Four. Like, why are we going through this? Like, you gotta get better. Like, Raw had like 50 million draft picks more than SmackDown. They can find better opponents. Hell, they could have had Sheamus or Cesaro go up against Kevin Owens or Seth Rollins to at least make it somewhat interesting that one of them might actually get the win. But nothing special here. Kevin Owens gets the win. He moves on. Neville and Sami Zayn are basically pointless in the entire thing, and I honestly have no idea where Sami Zayn or Neville goes from here, but not really feeling what's going on with this so far. The next segment featured the New Day coming out. And again, it's Brooklyn. Brooklyn loves the New Day. I mean, hell, I'm a fan of the New Day, but I really wish like something would happen with them. There's 3 of them, push one of them as a singles, have the other 2 defend the titles, have the other 2 actually defend the titles in actual feuds that don't have like I don't mind like the gimmicks and the joking and stuff when we're on Raw, but when the actual pay-per-view comes, like, have a real tag team match. But it seems like they're going to continue the thing with Gallows and Anderson. Big E ends up having a one-on-one with Anderson, to make his comeback after, going out with the split injury, we'll just call it. Biggie gets the win off a pretty good big ending. I like the finish. So it does look like they're going to continue the New Day versus the Club, the Club feud. But I mean, there's really not much to say. I mean, nothing happened at SummerSlam, so maybe when they have the first official Raw pay-per-view, maybe the tag match during that will be a lot better. But for right now, there's really like no interest in this feud. But again, I definitely like to see Kofi still be a part of the New Day, but step into the title picture, since we're giving out number 1 contendership title shots for like every single person on the damn roster. Now the next segment was a promo done by Titus O'Neil, and before I even start with anything, I have to say, like, I'm a fan of Titus O'Neil. I actually I like the guy. I like his look. Father of the Year. He's a person that does a lot of charity work, outside that WWE doesn't even talk about. They always paint John Cena as like the only person in the company that helps people and talks to kids, but Titus O'Neil does a lot of charity work. He even did something where he fed a whole bunch of homeless people, once, just off the street, just off the cuff. Like, he talks to kids, he goes to schools. He's a good dude. I mean, I wish he would have ended up on SmackDown. I'm not happy that he ended up on Raw, because Raw's not the place for him. Like, the guy deserves to be a heel on the SmackDown brand. But with that being said, the promo that he cut tonight wasn't really good. He kind of like stumbled in the beginning, and then after he made a couple of mistakes in the beginning, then you could tell like he kind of like lost a hold of it. He did get it back at some points. There was some points where the aggression kicked in and he got a little more comfortable. But this whole thing was basically just to continue the feud between him and Darren Young for the second time now, which honestly nobody cares about. And one thing I don't like about it is, if it fails, which, it's not looking too good so far. WWE's going to look at it like, oh, we tried to push Darren Young, we tried to give Titus O'Neil a chance, and the crowd didn't respond, and these guys, didn't do a good job. But when the fact of the matter is, it's not that nobody, these guys didn't deliver so much, and like nobody cares. Nobody cares about the two of them having a feud with each other. Like I'd like to see Titus O'Neil fight somebody else. Like maybe put him in the in the title hunt. Have him fight somebody else. Like nobody cares about him versus Darren Young, and the two of them shouldn't even be on the same brand anyway. So, I mean, I don't know where this is going. I don't know what'll happen with O'Neil after the the promo fiasco. But I mean, there's still a lot of. I mean, I feel like put the guy on SmackDown. You see a different Titus O'Neil, and we the guy could actually be a draw. Like as a heel, like as a true heel, like the guy can actually do some damage. I've seen situations where he's done interviews with with JoJo or with Renee Young, and his interview promos sound very like calculated, and they sound like people are feeding him lines, or he had a script that he read before he talked. But then when the camera is just on him, with no interview person, and he's just regularly having a conversation with somebody, it flows. Like it's awesome. Like he's comfortable. He sounds more at home. So like certain people don't need scripts. Like just let the guy be natural. Just let the guy be natural, and just let him do what he does, and we'll see what happens. But as far as this feud is concerned, like I said, it needs to end quick, and Titus needs to go on and do something else. So next, after Stephanie McMahon taught Brock Lesnar a lesson and fined him $500 for what he did to Randy Orton and Shane McMahon at SummerSlam, the next match for the Universal Championship is Big Cass versus Rusev. And again, like I said before, I feel like Vince is trying to break these two up. Like, why would you put Cass in the title picture, and not Enzo? And and to have Cass get the win. First of all, Rusev is the United States champion, so he shouldn't even be in the damn thing either. They're just so it's just there's so many people that are on the Raw roster that were drafted on the Raw roster for them, and they're not using the appropriate people. It's one of those things where there are four guys that they actually want to be in this tournament, and they just slapped four random people together to get them to that point. And if you're going to do that, I mean, Stephanie, she's a heel GM. Like, she's not a face. Like, Stephanie's a heel GM. So just pick the four people that you want. Let's get it over with. Like nobody really shines in this moment, because realistically speaking, Kaz isn't going to win either. Like, the whole point of Kaz even being in this is just to put more shine on him, so they can eventually split these two up. But Kaz isn't winning the championship. Rusev's not winning the championship, so why even have this match? But Kaz does get the win, so this is what we're going with. Charlotte comes out, and just like with Finn Balor, another situation where Sasha Banks had some injuries going. She had some back injuries going, and then they ended up taking the title off her at SummerSlam, and now she's sidelined, and they put the belt back on Charlotte, which I wasn't a fan of, but it makes sense. It does make sense, because a lot of people, and it's like, what else were you gonna do at that point? So if you're gonna take Sasha off, then replacing her, with another woman, with another woman that can step right in and face Charlotte does make sense. The problem in the matter is, I was not a fan of the person that they chose. I even said before when I did another review that I didn't like. We all knew once, after Bayley got her head kicked in by Asuka at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, we all knew that Bayley was going to get the call up. But if the four horsewomen are going to be the ones that are basically dominating the division, then you got to split it up. You got to put two of them on SmackDown, put two of them on Raw. I was not a fan of having Bayley come to Raw. I felt that she should have gone to SmackDown. But lo and behold, for the lack of better sense, Bayley ends up on Raw. And I'm pretty sure they're going to say they put Bayley on Raw because now that Sasha's gone, they wanted somebody else who can come in, but you have other women on the roster. I was like, yeah, Paige is suspended, but you got Alicia Fox, you got Summer Rae. You can use them. You can use Alicia Fox. You could use Summer Rae to fill in. They could have a match with Charlotte at the next Raw pay-per-view for the title, until Sasha Banks is healthy, because from my understanding she's only going to be out for about a month, maybe a little bit over a month anyway. So if she's only going to be missing for 1 month, like, have Alicia Fox come in. Like, don't put Bayley, don't put Bayley on Raw now, because now Raw is like oversaturated with women. So the title picture for Raw, it's only going to be about Charlotte. It's going to be about Bayley. At some point, they're going to squeeze Nia Jackson, and then then Sasha's going to come back. So then when Sasha comes back, so you got Charlotte, you got Bayley, you got Nia Jax, you got Sasha Banks. What the hell is what's Alicia Fox and Summer Rae even doing on the brand anymore? You could have thrown Paige in the mix, but Paige got suspended. So if I'm Summer Rae or Alicia Fox, like, I'm asking for a trade to the SmackDown brand, because there's nothing for those two. Dana Brooke can stay where she is. I mean, she's not really doing anything anyway. But yeah, and then Bayley just got here, so to have Bayley just come in and automatically get a title shot, I hope that doesn't happen either. Make the division better by using everybody that you have. And this is one of the reasons why I'm more of a fan of the SmackDown, women's division, than I am of the Raw women's division. But we'll get into that later. But the news in the headline here is that Bayley is the newest member of the Raw roster. So we'll see what she could do, but it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. We're going to get a Charlotte versus Bayley match. So let's just strap in and see where that goes. But things will get interesting once Sasha Banks does come back, and then when Nia Jax eventually does decide to step in. And who knows, when Asuka finally gets the call up, since how Raw is basically like oversaturated now with top women talent. Put Asuka on SmackDown. Let's get some more power going on that SmackDown brand. But it'll be pretty interesting. We'll see where this goes. Yeah, so Bayley ended up, she ended up getting a one-on-one match with Dana Brooke. So no surprise, she was over like gangbusters. The crowd was into her. She got the win. Not a surprise at all. So the entire Raw show so far has just turned out to be very, very predictable. So next we have another Braun Strowman squash match. But before the match started, Sheamus got interviewed and basically was talking about his feud with Cesaro. He threw some shade at every New York sports team. And although I'm personally a Portland Trailblazer fan when it comes to basketball, I still live in New York City, so I kind of take that shit personal. But Sheamus, threw some cheap shots at New York. One thing I didn't like, though, he actually tried to throw shade at the Suicide Squad movie, saying that, it underperformed and underdelivered, and which I completely do not agree with. There were some issues with the storyline itself, but I actually enjoyed the Suicide Squad. I thought it was amazing, and I'm definitely going to check it out a second time before it's pulled out of theaters. But, Sheamus just trying to get some cheap heat from the audience, because he gets no reaction from anybody at all these days. Braun Strowman squashes another one, and we're moving right along. My guess with the Braun Strowman thing, I mean, they're basically like setting him up to face the Undertaker. This is where we're going. Like, it's going to be Strowman versus the Undertaker. I kind of hope that doesn't happen, because I really don't care. But who else can face Taker at this point? But except the unstoppable force of Braun Strowman. Next, we have the surprising retiring Dudley Boyz. Dudley Boyz announced on Twitter that they were hanging it up and they were officially retiring, which I thought was weird, because they did a lot of talking about, making a comeback and trying to become 10-time tag team champions. And now all of a sudden, they're just like, yeah, we're done. I thought it was really weird. I figured maybe Devon's the one that's retiring and Bubba's going to stay on as a singles competitor, but that was a shock. It'll be sad to see him go, because I think as a heel tag team, if you take the cuffs off these guys and let them run, they still got a lot of juice left in it. But then the swerve happened, because then they ended up getting jumped by Gallows and Anderson. And as soon as Gallows and Anderson attacked them, the first thing that popped in my mind was, okay, so maybe this was a like a fake retirement, like what they did with Mark Henry when him and Cena had that match. And then, like, why throw Gallows and Anderson in a feud with the Dudley Boyz when they just got finished feuding with the New Day earlier in the night? So the one thing that popped in my mind is, maybe the Dudley Boyz are finished. Maybe this is their way of adding the Dudley Boyz to a potential three-way tag team match between New Day, Dudley's, Gallows, and Anderson, and then maybe the Dudley Boys, they do win the titles, they become the 10-time champions, and then they actually get to retire on top, which would actually be kind of cool. If the New Day drops the belts in a triple threat tag match to the Dudleys, I'd be okay with that. And then maybe maybe Bubba Ray does come back. Maybe he brings his girlfriend Velvet Sky with him, and they become a heel team just like the Miz, Maurice, Rusev, and Lana. So definitely interested to see where this one's going. So in the main event, we have, surprise, surprise, Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho. And as soon as I saw this, I was just like, well, so much for Chris Jericho's heavyweight championship plans. And it also goes to show that, because Roman Reigns had that one-on-one match with Rusev at the Raw prior, and he won clean in the ring. And then their match at SummerSlam for the United States Championship ended up in a no contest because the match never even got started. It's no surprise that they threw Roman Reigns right back in the title picture. And, the crowd wasn't really feeling it, as always. I like Roman Reigns. I ain't got nothing against the guy. The only reason why people even started booing him to begin with was because they were mad that he won that Royal Rumble over Daniel Bryan, but people got to let that shit go. But at the same time, WWE also has to recognize that him as a face isn't working. The fans just aren't getting, like, the majority of the fans aren't getting behind it, so they gotta make a turn, turn the guy heel, give him a reason to get booed if he's gonna get booed. And we've seen time and time again that people who end up heels, eventually end up getting cheered. So if the WWE wants him to get cheered so bad, turn him bad, and then that'll get him the cheers that they want. But Roman Reigns beats Chris Jericho despite the crowd's unhappiness about it. So now we have a fatal four-way match of Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Big Cass for the vacated Universal Championship. So it should be interesting. But again, at this point, it would be really surprising if they go with Kevin Owens. If they give Kevin Owens the title, that would actually be the most interesting thing they could do, aside from giving it to a black guy. But that would be the most interesting thing they could do, to the point where this whole entire thing just doesn't seem like a boring waste of time. Because, the entire Raw for me was just like, it was predictable. Like every single aspect of it was predictable. There were no surprises, and there were no shockers. So who knows? The belt next week is either going to go to Rollins or it's going to go to Roman. But it would be nice to see Kevin Owens, come out, as the champion, because we all know it's not going to Big Cass. And if for some weird miracle they do end up giving the title to Big Cass, that Enzo Big Cass relationship is completely over. But in a nutshell, that was Raw. I can't, scale of 1 to 10. The show didn't suck. I would never say a show sucked, but the show was average. Like, it was average and it was predictable. So I have to give it a 5. Now we have Smackdown. Smackdown Live Tuesday nights, coming off again the aftermath of the SummerSlam pay-per-view. And the show starts with AJ Styles, rightfully so, coming into the locker room and bragging about how he beat John Cena, which is the thing that he loves to do. He's saying that he's the new face that runs the place, and and I like it. I like the fact that AJ got the win. He beat John Cena twice, and he needs to walk around and start bragging, and he needs to demand like a heavyweight championship opportunity. He did start some beef with Dolph Ziggler that spilled out in the locker room, and the two of them got into it. But we're gonna touch more about that later. As far as like the the beef between Ziggler and AJ Styles, but. It did kind of suck to see Apollo Crews in that mix, because the SummerSlam performance for him wasn't really good. They had him lose clean to the Miz, and I got a feel for Apollo Crews. I'm not sure where he goes from there, but but SmackDown got off to a good start. So I strapped in. I was all in, and I was interested to see where this is, where the show was going to take us. But SmackDown got me hooked, like right from Jump Street, like right from the beginning. So after that little scuffle between Ziggler and Styles, the show officially starts now with the tag team superstars and the women's superstars for SmackDown Live in the ring. Because Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon revealed the brand new SmackDown Tag Team Championships the brand new SmackDown Women's Championship. And I gotta say, the tag team belts is fire. Like I like the straps. I like the fact that the belts are silver. And the silver with the blue, it actually fits perfectly. Like, those titles look legit. The titles look good. But if I'm the New Day, I'm actually not happy about this, because the New Day, they were champions for over a year, over 365 days, and SmackDown Live gets brand new, beautiful, blue strapped with silver. Like, their belts are silver. Meanwhile, the New Day's walking around with two big ass pennies, on a leather strap. I would feel some kind of way about that, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the New Day doesn't either demand that new tag team belts be made for them specifically, or they show up on SmackDown to challenge the recipients of whoever wins these SmackDown tag team titles. But yeah, the tag team belts and the tag team division for SmackDown already is off to a better start, than anything that's happening on Raw. And even with the women's championship, like the women's championship, the white, it's basically the blue version of the Raw women's title, but it works. Like, it looks beautiful. The crowd actually started doing Becky Lynch chants when they were talking about the women's title. But I kind of hope, I'm hoping that Naomi gets it. I would be okay with Becky gets it, but that would be a predictable thing, and I'd hate to see like SmackDown go a predictable route. I'd actually like to see a swerve come in. Everybody's assuming that it's Nikki Bella, myself included, because she's dating John Cena and he's on SmackDown. So why not just give the title to the longest reigning Divas champion of all time? And I don't have a problem with Nikki Bella. I have nothing against Nikki Bella. I just don't want to see Nikki Bella become the first SmackDown Live Women's Champion. One thing about the SmackDown division that's different than the Raw division, you could make an argument that the girls are on an equal playing field, where they all can equally fight for something, and it's not just completely obvious that one person's gonna, dominate the division over everyone else. Adding Nikki to that mix kind of makes it seem that way, where Nikki's just going to be handed everything. So hopefully when they do the six-pack challenge at Backlash to determine a new champion, give the belt to Naomi. Let Naomi rock. Give her an opportunity, to become a champion. Then if you want to put it on Nikki later on, then put the belt on Nikki later. I mean, one thing that is predictable is like they're, no matter what happens, they're leading up towards Becky Lynch getting the title anyway, but not right out the gate. Like, do something different. Do a swerve. Give Naomi the title. Let Naomi rock with it, and then put your other plans into effect. Because, the moment Nikki Bella or Becky Lynch wins that six-pack challenge, if people were excited or hyped over it, the air's just going to go out of the building, because it's going to be like, oh, another obvious finish. So, like I said, do something different, and get WWE, give the sister a shot. So then Heath Slater comes out and interrupts the entire situation, which is cool. I was never a huge Heath Slater fan, but the whole, biggest draft pick not being drafting, like, it works for him. Like, I'm actually entertained, and I look forward to seeing the dude perform now. So, they ended up putting him into the tag team tournament despite not having a partner, but we do find out later on that Rhino agrees to be his tag team partner. Now, much like with the women's situation, the tag team situation, it's set up to where it's assumed, or it's obvious to everybody, it's going to come down to American Alpha versus the Usos for the tag team titles, with American Alpha probably going over the Usos and becoming the first SmackDown Live tag team champions. But I mean, I'd be okay with that, but it would be more interesting if the Usos actually did win the titles. Maybe a heel turn by the Usos. I don't want to see him. I like American Alpha. Don't get me wrong, I like American Alpha, but just like with the Nikki and the and the Becky Lynch situation, I don't want to see American Alpha get the titles right out the gate. Now, the only reason why Heath Slater was even added to this whole thing is because they're trying to do a tag team tournament, and they actually don't have enough tag teams. So they're going to find an old tag team. I heard a rumor maybe the Basham brothers from back in the day are going to come back and challenge Rhino and Heath Slater. But one thing that makes it interesting is, Shane and Bryan told Heath Slater if he wins the tag team titles that he'll actually get a SmackDown contract. So I think they're going to bring Heath Slater as far as they can bring him to tease the shit out of him actually winning these titles. The crowd is going to go bananas over it. They're going to completely lose their mind. Heath Slater's going to get all the way to the finish line, and then he's going to lose to either the Usos or American Alpha. But, I'm interested in the ride. Like, I'm actually interested, like I said, the tag team division right now for SmackDown is more interesting than the Raw situation, and I'm more invested in what's going on with the women right now than I am on SmackDown than I am with the women on Raw. So let's see what Backlash can do. But I'm like, once again, I'm all in. Red may be my favorite color, but I'm a SmackDown guy, and for me so far, SmackDown's proven that they are the better show. And one of the reasons why SmackDown, is proven to be the better show for me so far, much like in the beginning, they start the show with beef between Dolph Ziggler and AJ Styles. Then AJ Styles comes out and interrupts the championship title presentation. He tells Heath Slater he doesn't want to be his tag team partner, but he comes out to address what happened in the locker room with Dolph Ziggler. And then Dolph Ziggler comes out and attacks him. And and I like this because it's realistic, like it's real, it's real life. I don't like it in wrestling where two people get into something, you see one of those two participants later on in the night, but then they just do something completely different as though like it never happened. Like with this, I like the fact that the AJ Styles Dolph Ziggler beef, it carried throughout the course of the entire night. Even with the Eva Marie situation where she kept coming up with ways to not have a match. She was supposed to wrestle Naomi, and she was stuck in traffic, so she didn't have that match. But then she popped up later on in the night to interrupt a Becky Lynch match. I like the fact that Naomi still came out later on as to say, hey, we're still going to fight, just because you skipped out on my match, like we're still going to fight. I like how SmackDown is putting it together. Like they're making these feuds feel real. They're making them feel like real life beef, like real life brawls. It's not just like, oh, this was one segment and then we won't see these two again for the next segment. The SmackDown stuff carries over throughout the course of the show, which got me invested. And then, after this, it leads us into a one-on-one match between Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, coming off a win over Becky Lynch a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown. So this is more of the, like the rematch for the two of them. Naomi and Natalya was on commentary, and I was actually like excited to hear the two of them on commentary, and I wish the two of them would have spoken a little bit more, but. The match was good. I mean, I like Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is always looking good. I like her in-ring work. I like Becky Lynch as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing where these women go. Because like I said, the SmackDown women right now, it's a lot more intrigue, than the women on Raw. So, but with this, Becky Lynch actually does get the victory. So we're getting ready. We're getting ready for the 6-pack challenge. It looks like we're going to crown that champion real soon. Next, we have the Ascension versus the Usos. No surprise here. The first match in the SmackDown Tag Team Tournament to crown the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Again, no surprise here. WWE's not big on the Ascension. They actually ruined the Ascension right out the gate by having them dress up like the Legion of Doom, which the fans were not feeling. I feel like the Ascension can make a comeback. I'm looking for the Ascension to make a comeback. It would be cool if the Ascension actually did win the tag team titles and put everybody on notice that they were the longest running tag team champions on NXT for a reason. But in this match, Usos get the win. They move on in the tournament. Waiting for the next match. So then AJ Styles comes back out comes back out again. Third time we see him tonight. And as he should, he talks about how he should be the number one contender for the championship. Dolph Ziggler lost, the title's wide open, and AJ would be the next guy in line. But then again, Ziggler comes back out. The two of them get into a fight. They get into a feud. Daniel Bryan comes out and puts the two of them in a match. And again, this is what I like. This is what I like about SmackDown. The show's halfway over, and these two are still going at it. It wasn't just they had this one locker room thing, and then nothing happens, or we gotta wait till next week. It's continued beef throughout the course of the entire show. Now, the one thing about Daniel Bryan's announcement that I thought was weird, he said that the two of them were gonna have a fight, and if AJ Styles wins, he becomes the number one contender. But then if Dolph Ziggler wins, he'll get added to the championship match, and it'll become a triple threat match. So that's kind of like saying AJ's already in the match. So for AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan basically just said that no matter what happens, AJ Styles is going to be in this match. It's just what AJ Styles is fighting for. He's basically fighting to have a one-on-one as opposed to a triple threat, whereas Ziggler's actually fighting to get into the match. So that was a little weird. They could have explain that a little bit better. But yeah, that's what the fans wanted. They wanted Daniel Bryan to make the match. Ziggler versus AJ Styles. Looking for that Ziggler heel turn, but we'll see where this goes. Now, this match was one of the highlights of the night for me. It has Carmella coming out, who, gotta say, Carmella was over like a brand new car in NXT. Like, the fans loved her. She was one of the top most popular women on the NXT women's roster. But once she got the call up to SmackDown, the fans aren't really translating to her really well. She should have been called up with Enzo and Cass from the beginning, because when Carmella actually first debuted on NXT, when she was with Enzo and Cass, people weren't really feeling her either. But the more she hung out with Enzo and Cass, she got over as a face. And then when she made the transition over to singles, people had already liked her because she was with Enzo and Cass. So to bring her out now without Enzo and Cass, it's like it's fallen flat. Which is why I like the outcome of this match, although the match never got started. Nikki comes in the ring. They put her on the heel team at SummerSlam, but apparently, she's a face. The fans still embracing her, still cheering for her. Renee Young comes in to interview her, and then, after saying a couple of words, she flat out got attacked by Carmella, which I thought was awesome because it makes perfect sense. Carmella was the one who got pinned in the SummerSlam match. She's the one that lost the match for her team, and she got pinned by a returning Nikki Bella. So to have Carmella, hold some resentment over that, it's awesome. It gives her, it puts more shine on the Carmella character, because again, the fans were not feeling her as a face, and then they have her, it gives Nikki some sympathy having Carmella take her out, but it made Carmella look strong. Like, it kept Carmella, because I'm pretty sure when the match first happened, and Carmella and Nikki came out, everybody was like, okay, so Nikki's probably going to beat her in like 13 seconds. But nah, Carmella came out, and then she was like, you guys will treat me with the respect I deserve. So a heel Carmella is a good thing. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing where the heel Carmella character goes and what they'll do with the face character, because now we have a face Nikki, a face Naomi, and a face Becky Lynch, which to me were the three girls who were pretty much in line to potentially win this title anyway. So yeah, SmackDown's doing it again, with the first the Ziggler AJ Styles situation, and now we got the Carmella Nikki situation. So it's big things happening over on the Blue Brand. Props to Shane and Daniel Bryan. So surprisingly, Randy Orton showed up after getting getting busted wide open by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. I was shocked to see him. I was really surprised to see him. I thought he would have taken the night off, but no, he came out, he addressed the crowd, and I thought he addressed the crowd appropriately. He didn't come out, and talk trash. He didn't come out and tuck his tail between his legs. He kept it real. He was like, what happened. I'm gonna do me, and one day I'm gonna see Brock Lesnar again, and when me and him pass in the hallway, it's gonna be a misunderstanding. Then we gonna handle that. So yeah, props to Randy Orton. I'm glad the dude is back. Glad to see him again. I'm actually happy he's on SmackDown. And, at that point I was wondering, like, okay, where can they go from here? Because they're not going to do another Brock Lesnar-Randy Orton match anytime soon. And then comes Bray Wyatt. And when Bray Wyatt's music hit, I was taken back at first. But then I thought about it and I was like, this is actually a good thing, because Bray Wyatt isn't doing a damn thing. Like, he's... they're trying to call him the Eater of Worlds. They're trying to make him seem like he's an intimidating, scary guy, and he loses every fucking match. So to have him come out with to cut off Randy Orton and go into a program with Randy Orton, I'm into this, because having a program with Randy Orton could it could elevate Bray Wyatt even more, and if he actually gets a victory over Randy Orton, then maybe we can get the rejuvenation of Bray Wyatt, because Lord knows he's not doing anything worthwhile at all, or he's not doing anything relevant, period. So let's see, definitely let's see where this goes. Backlash, Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. Let's make it happen, and may the best man win. But I'll definitely be tuning in for this one. Shane McMahon got interviewed, and he pretty much said that he was in the most polite way possible after getting annoyed with the girl who was interviewing him. Pretty much said that the $500 fine that Stephanie gave Lesnar was a joke, and Shane's basically gonna handle his bi because there's gonna be consequences for Brock Lesnar. I hope that does not turn into a Shane versus Brock Lesnar feud because I don't want to see Shane McMahon die. If anything, I hope that it makes Shane McMahon sign Goldberg to the SmackDown brand, and then we get a Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar match so they can make up for whatever that was at WrestleMania 20. American Alpha comes out, and I was like, all right, cool, let's get this started. But it's not a secret. American Alpha could have faced the Demolition, and they still would have won this match. The fact that it's Breezango is like, yeah, just like with the Raw situation, you threw two guys in that for a fact don't have a shot. It's all about getting the American Alpha over, so just get them over already. American Alpha gets the win, surprise, surprise, and now we have the Usos and the American Alpha going forward in the tag team tournament, which means the Hype Bros are most likely going to face the Vaudevillains. And since we've got the Usos and we've got the American Alpha, we got to get some heel tag teams. And and the Hype Bros are pretty much like a joke tag team anyway. So we're gonna get the Vaudevillains as the third team in the match, and I guarantee Slater and Rhino end up winning their match, and those are gonna be the four that continue on in the tournament. The last match for the night with the WWE Champion Dean Ambrose on commentary was the Dolph Ziggler versus AJ Styles match, and they gave this match pretty much the last half hour of the show. The match started at around the 135 mark, 134, 135 mark. So they gave these guys like a good solid 25 minutes to do this, which was good for both of them. But AJ Styles does get the win, so we will not see a triple threat match. We will see the one-on-one match between Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles, which kind of makes you wonder if Dean Ambrose's time is over. Is AJ Styles going to get that title? Based on the momentum and the run that he's had, he should get that title, but maybe Dean Ambrose isn't ready to let it go just yet. Dolph Ziggler once again ends up being the odd man out of the mix, and at this point the man has to go heel. I need a heel Dolph Ziggler, but if we do get a heel Dolph Ziggler, then that means AJ Styles is not going to beat Dean Ambrose, because we're not going to have a heel AJ Styles and a heel Dolph Ziggler. We're not going to have a heel. We're not going to have a heel AJ Styles as WWE champion and then have a heel Dolph Ziggler. Like, that's not going to make sense. But if Ziggler turns heel, then maybe Ambrose retains. If Ziggler stays face, then who knows? AJ Styles actually does get the championship, but I'm with the exception of the Intercontinental title, which got no mention at all in this entire show, I am more than excited over the SmackDown pay-per-view. I'm looking forward to see where it's gonna happen. We're gonna get 4 title matches on that pay-per-view. I'm psyched, man. Like, SmackDown Live, that's my show. Tuesday nights I'm there. I'm watching The Flash first, and then after that, then I'm watching SmackDown Live on DVR. But no, it's good. Like, Tuesday nights is definitely, so far, it's the night to be for wrestling. So I give the show like a good 8.5. The only reason why I give the 8.5 is because we didn't really get any Intercontinental stuff, though we did get something on the post show, but we'll talk about that in a second. But no Intercontinental stuff mentioned, and a couple of the tag matches were a little predictable, but because of the Ziggler AJ stuff and because of the Nikki Bella Carmella stuff, like I said, I'm hooked. So 8.5, 8.5 for SmackDown Live. Now, we gotta talk about that Talking Smack. Now, the post show for SmackDown was lit and on fire. We, like I said before, we had Nikki Bella come out to speak on Talking Smack, to talk about, the state of the women's division and, her neck injury and, how she feels about being on the SmackDown brand. I like how they tried to play it, though. They tried to make it seem like she ended up on SmackDown because her brother-in-law is the general manager, knowing damn well she's on the show because her boyfriend is on the show. But they don't like to mention the relationship between her and John Cena, which I think is funny. I mean, but again, Carmella fought Nikki, at SummerSlam. Carmella took the pin. She wasn't happy about it. The two of them were supposed to have a one-on-one match. Nikki was getting interviewed. Carmella felt some kind of way, and she attacked her, just to show her that she's just not going to be a stepping stone to be played with. But the one thing about Talking Smack, which is why I'm super into the SmackDown brand right now, the beef continued after the show had even gone off the air. And again, and this is real life. If I'm Carmella and I have a problem, with Nikki Bella because I felt like I got embarrassed at SummerSlam, and if I attacked, Nikki Bella right before, the match, the one-on-one match that we were supposed to have. Once the show goes off the air, if Nikki Bella is doing another interview with Daniel Bryan and Renee Young, and I'm still in the building, the beef is not over. We're still fighting. I'm still coming for you. If I walk down the hallway, if I see a kid asking for your autograph and not asking me for an autograph, there's a problem. Every time I see you, there's going to be a problem. I see you in the supermarket with somebody helping you with your groceries. We fight it in the parking lot. There's going to be a problem. And I like it because it is making me invested and it is keeping me interested with what the women are doing on SmackDown. Nikki got the ever-loving you-know-what kicked out of her twice in one night. And all she did was just come back from a neck injury and just have a regular match. And now because she got over on one of the new girls, Nikki is getting her ass whooped every single time her and Carmella see each other. Now, she did try to play her, though, because on the show she did try to call her a bootleg Nikki Bella. And I'm like, just because she wears a hat. I mean, Liv Morgan on NXT wears a hat too. So now any chick that wears a hat is all of a sudden going to be a new a bootleg Nikki Bella. But I like this though. Like this got me interested. Like I was lit. I was just like, yo, let's get it. If this is what the future for the SmackDown Women's Division holds, sign me up quick. I'm already paying for the network, so they already got my money. But like I said, I'm down with this. Like I really want to see where this is gonna go, and I look forward to seeing that six-pack women's championship challenge at the Backlash pay-per-view. Now, the main event of the entire show, the Talkin' Smack show, and even for SmackDown period, had to have been this confrontation between Daniel Bryan and The Miz. The Miz came out on Talkin' Smack to basically, put some respect on his name for why nobody takes him seriously as the Intercontinental Champion, which caused Daniel Bryan to say that he is not a fan of The Miz, and that he even feels like The Miz is a coward because he has a cowardly style of wrestling. Now, the Miz came back on him and he told him, he was just like, hey, he said, the way I wrestle keeps me healthy. He said, I've never been injured. It keeps me on the road. It keeps me doing interviews, keeps me promoting this product. It keeps me holding the Intercontinental Championship. And the Miz went off, I don't know if this was scripted, if it was, or if they were just supposed to just go out there, talk a little trash, and things got out of hand, and the Miz took it too serious. But it was one of those things where you say what you want about the Miz, but after he let Daniel Bryan have it, I was just like, well, shoot, I can't fault the man. Like I found nothing wrong with what the Miz said. I am surprised that Daniel Bryan was allowed to even say that the WWE will not let him come back, and they're the ones, which is basically saying that he could wrestle if he wants to, but the WWE are the ones that won't allow him to wrestle in their company, which forced the Miz to come back and tell him, well, if you love wrestling so much, then why don't you quit and take your behind back to the bingo hall, insinuating that he's pretty much only sticking around for the money, not so much for the love of the wrestling. And like I said, the Miz did it. The Miz did it. The Miz lit it up. He showed everybody, that he actually does love this business. He does have the passion for it. And now, the next person who fights the Miz for the Intercontinental Championship, I guarantee you that match is going to be on fire. Hopefully, Apollo Crews gets another shot, but maybe they'll bring in somebody else. But you got to give props to the Miz. And actually, if we're attaching Talking Smack to SmackDown Live, if we're gonna make that a part of the show, then I got to give SmackDown overall this week, I got to give it a 9.5 because it was definitely on fire. Alright, so real quick, I just want to talk about NXT for the week. Nothing real special happened. It was pretty much just the dark matches from the NXT Brooklyn show, so we're still in Brooklyn here. But the opening dark match was the Perfect 10, Ty Dillinger coming out, and that's my dude, man. I mean, he puts on good matches. The crowd loves this guy, and I have to say his theme music, they try to portray him as a heel, but with his look, his entrance, his theme music, the way the crowd responds to him, why is this guy a heel? You have got to make. First of all, this guy should be on SmackDown. He shouldn't even still be on NXT. They should, I understand they brought up Mojo Rawley for the Hype Bros tag team, but SmackDown needs Ty Dillinger. Like this dude is over. Like, give this guy a shot. I don't really like rave too much over certain people, but you gotta give this dude a shot. I'm just saying. Um, the other match was the Empires of Pain, or the Samoan guys that Paul Ellering manages. They beat TM 361. Ty Dillinger wrestled Murphy, one of the dudes from the tag team formerly known as Blake and Murphy, which I'm kind of sad about, because I actually thought Blake and Murphy along with Alexa Bliss should have stayed together. They should have debuted on SmackDown together as a team, with Alexa Bliss still wrestling in women's singles competition, but they broke them up. Not sure where that's gonna go, but yeah, nothing special happened on this week's NXT. It was just a recap of all the old shows. So it'll be interesting now when NXT comes back this up and coming week. Shinsuke Nakamura will talk about he'll talk about him winning the title. Samoa Joe will come out, obviously, to see what Bobby Roode, Austin Aries is going to do. It'll be and then where the hell does the women's division go? Because Bayley's gone, Asuka's got the title, and not one girl on the show right now is capable of even beating Asuka. I am looking forward to seeing more Ember Moon. So yeah, things are looking up for NXT, but we gotta let the smoke settle to find out what direction they're actually going in with all this. So finally, that leaves us to Thursday Night Impact. Good show. I'm a TNA fan. I gotta say, I'm a TNA fan. I'm a Bobby Lashley fan. I like a lot of the knockouts. I like the fact that they gave Bobby Lashley all the gold. He kept the gold, bragged about it, then was just like, yeah, I don't want this no more. I'm like I said, I'm all in with TNA. People could hate it if they want, but like I said, the product for me is getting real good. Show opened up with Drew Galloway and EC3 pretty much having brunch like this was an episode of Basketball Wives. The two of them were exchanged in a couple of altercations where Drew Galloway flat out said EC3 is interfering on purpose in all of his matches, and he basically wants to settle that beef once and for all because he feels there's a problem. So to make amends for it, because EC3 is the number one contender, he told Drew Galloway that if he beats him in a one-on-one match, he can have his spot to make up for the 3 times that EC3 screwed him over. So, but before the match even happened, the two of them pretty much got into a brunch conversation, and where they pretty much just talked out their problems, and then they're gonna get in the ring and settle it like men. This match was the main event for tonight. So it's definitely something that everybody in the building was looking forward to. So the show starts with Bobby Lashley coming out and doing commentary for the number one contenders battle royal to determine who's going to face him in the immediate future for the TNA World Heavyweight title. The Pope apparently was not a fan of having him do commentary, and the Pope decided to get up and walk away from the table. Now, it makes sense because the two of them do have beef. They do have a history, where they did get into a fight in the ring. But Lashley wasn't here thinking about the Pope. Lashley was here doing commentary. So if you're the Pope, if you're gonna be a to steal a phrase from Booker T, if you're gonna be a sucker and get up from the table and walk away because the guy, it's like, come on, dude, like you're supposed to be tougher than that. Like I would have stayed at the table. I would have talked trash to his face and if he came out his mouth, I'd have said something. We'd have just had to have gotten into a fight. I'm not a fan of the Pope actually leaving, and then hell, should come back. If you're the Pope, make him think you're gonna leave, and then you come back and then you put the beating on him. But yeah, that was a little weird. But Battle Royal got underway. It was a pretty decent Battle Royal with a lot of good talents. It pretty much came down in the end to Moose and the Miracle, Mike Bennett, along with one half of the American Wolves, with the Miracle basically screwing Moose over in the end to get the victory for himself. They're obviously going to go a route where it's Moose versus the Miracle at some point because, and the funny thing about Mike Bennett, he's not even trying to make it a secret that he's just using Moose for his strength and his size to get him what he wants. The guy flat out says it to his face, which I think is pretty damn funny, but which is why if you're Moose, why are you upset? The guy's using you. If anything, you're using him too because you used him to bring you into TNA. But definitely getting we're gonna get a Moose Bennett match at some point. So, but for right now, the Miracle Mike Bennett, he is the #1 contender for the title. He will be going up against Bobby Lashley, which basically spells the end for Mike Bennett, because Bobby Lashley's gonna kill Mike Bennett unless they screw Bobby Lashley over. Mike Bennett gets the title, and then he ends up fighting EC3 or Drew Galloway, at Bound for Glory. But I guess that's interesting so far. They definitely different ways they can go, different avenues. So they got my interest, they got my eyes open. It's time to fade away and classify ourselves as obsolete. You have the Hardys, Broken Matt, and Brother Nero going up against, in a feud with Decay, which is pretty interesting and weird because technically they're both heel teams. Jeff Hardy seems to be embracing the Brother Nero persona to the point where he's going crazy now, and him and Matt are actually, in a weird way, they're actually getting closer through this weird experience. I like the Broken Matt Brother Nero dynamic because it's weird, it's interesting, it's different, it's funny, it's pretty damn funny, and it's entertaining, and that's all we want at the end of the day. During the match, because Brother Nero ended up fighting the Monster Abyss in a one-on-one, Broken Matt decided to bite the face of the little guy from Decay, saying that he's the one that tried to kidnap his son weeks back, which is really weird. But it's now turning into a situation where, like, who's Matt gonna bite next? So, but whatever gets the ratings, whatever tunes people in. But with this match, the Monster Abyss ends up getting the W. The weird chick, got involved. I actually thought, she was kind of cool without the makeup gimmick, but yeah, I like Decay. I like Decay. I think the Hardys are going to win the titles when the two teams eventually go head to head. But yeah, so far so good. I really don't have any complaints. This is some pretty good stuff they got going on. All right, so after a quick backstage segment where Bobby Lashley basically tells Mike Bennett he should watch out for Moose, that brings us to Knockouts action, where it's pretty much the Knockouts champion Sienna versus every woman on the roster except Gail Kim, and I thought it was pretty interesting because of the outcome of the match. But I gotta say right out the gate, Sienna could be a little better. I like the Sienna character, but she hasn't really been on TV a lot lately. I would like to see her do a little bit more so she could actually earn the spot that she's put in. I love Marty Bell. Like, Marty Bell is my #1 favorite knockout. I like the attitude, I like the swagger, I like her outfit. I would actually like to see Marty Bell take more of a top role in the Knockouts division. I'm a huge fan of Jade too. Love me some Jade. Jade was champion already though, so I would like to see Marty Bell get a turn. They had Madison Rayne coming back, who is pretty much at this point the godmother of no, I guess that would be Gail Kim. So if now the two of them are pretty much like they're still there, like they're still holding the torch. And it's good to see Gail Kim and Madison Rayne still in the division. They threw Allie in the mix, which was pretty funny because Maria has been treating her like complete crap for the past few weeks, talking down to her. And the thing is, I like the character of Allie, of how she's like quirky and she gets involved, and it's funny and things. I like how they throw her in matches and then she's still wearing her like business suit, but she throws on some sneakers. But the voice thing is kind of annoying. She kind of sounds like Olive Oil from Popeye. But yeah, they decided to take the Allie thing a little bit further by having Allie win the TNA Knockouts Championship. Marty Bell ended up knocking Allie completely out, and she fell on top of Sienna. And when Jade came in to take care of Marty Bell, Allie ended up getting the 1-2-3. And I like the fact that after she pinned her to win the title, I like the fact that Allie actually laid there for like 5 minutes before she eventually got up, and she legitimately looked shocked. And this is Maria was pissed, Maria was upset, but this is actually Jade's fault. Jade is so consumed with the rivalry and the beef between her and Marty Bell, she pretty much like gift wrapped the championship for Allie. And it would be nice, like next week on Impact, if they, somebody needs to mention that. Somebody needs to reference that Jay took her eyes off the prize because she was focused on a personal beef. But it sucks that Allie actually got the championship over Marty Bell or Madison Rayne. But what would be really cool is to have Allie, as weird and as unphysical as she is, if she comes out next week and she's like fully dressed in wrestling gear and she's trying to become a serious competitor now that she's knockout champion, and then she wins all of her matches by accident. I wouldn't mind seeing that go on for a little while, but ultimately the belt's got to get taken off her. But it should be an entertaining ride until that happens. So then we have Bobby Lashley rolling up on Moose in the parking lot, who made fun of him for having to park like 15 blocks away from the arena. But he stirred the pot. He's basically letting him know that Mike Bennett's pretty much using him and that he's making him look stupid. So Lashley gave him his card and was like, hey, if you want to talk about your future and what's going on, he was like, hit me up. Which is interesting because they've been teasing a Lashley Moose feud, but now they're teasing like a possible team up. But this is obviously Lashley stirring the pot, but it's interesting because you don't know what's going to happen. Is Moose going to side with Lashley? Is he going to turn on him? Is he going to side with Bennett? So I'm interested. I want to see what happens here. And then the next segment brings us to the X Division, surprisingly, where you have my boy Eli Drake, who I'm a huge fan of Eli Drake. He's in the ring doing another Fact of Life episode with the entire X Division roster, and it looks like now that Lashley dropped the X Division and King of the Mountain Championship, it looks like Eli Drake has just inserted himself into the X Division, which is kind of weird. Why he would be in there. They have the X Division title, but they haven't brought out the King of the Mountain title, and nobody mentioned the King of the Mountain title, and I kind of hope they don't go away from the King of the Mountain title. I do agree with Lashley as far as what's the point of the King of the Mountain title, but there definitely still needs to be one. I like having the King of the Mountain title as long as there is a purpose. Maybe it can be the number one contenders championship where whoever's the King of the Mountain is automatically number one contender, but I honestly don't think they should get rid of it because then that lessens the amount of titles that are on the show, and it prevents everybody from getting a legitimate shot at doing something. So hopefully the King of the Mountain title will return, and maybe they'll actually give it a stipulation to put some sort of significance on it. But seeing Eli Drake in the X Division title picture should definitely be interesting in itself because that's a funny dude and I actually enjoy his work. So finally, in our main event, we have the Drew Galloway versus EC3 matchup with Aaron Rex, the artist formerly known as Damian Sandow. You're welcome, as the special guest referee. And it was, it's a situation where you got three faces in the ring. There's some blood between two of them, and I think everybody who watched this felt like something was going to happen because it was just a little too, just a little too friendly. It's a little too friendly. So, who was going to turn on who was not going to turn on who, and then what ended up happening is in the end, EC3 gets the win. He goes on to Bound for Glory to face the champion. Drew Galloway was not happy about it at all because, especially after feeling like he got screwed, but he can't complain at this point. He got a legitimate shot. All he had to do was beat one guy, and those last three matches, the defeats of those last three matches would have got erased. He came up short, so he got to swallow that one, and he has to move on. But of course, he does not move on. Instead, he attacks Aaron Rex. I don't know if he's mad at him for pinning him, counting the 1, 2, 3. Maybe he thought he got a fast count. His actions were never explained, but he was pissed, and he took his frustration out on Aaron Rex. And the captain is now the villain, and it looks like we have a Drew Galloway Aaron Rex match coming up in the future, which will probably be Aaron Rex's debut match. And if that is his debut match, then that means Drew Galloway is going to lose again. But these are some big dudes. These are some fast, quick. Both of them have to be 6'4", 6'5". These are some tall, big dudes, man. So A heel Drew Galloway takes it back to the Chosen One days in the WWE. But I'm strapped in. You know, like I'm all in. I'm looking forward to the Aaron Rex debut. I'm looking forward to, you know, him versus Drew Galloway. So definitely no complaints here. So that was it. That was my my review for this week in wrestling. You know, did go through a few things kind of quick. I mean, it is a lot of wrestling to cover, and I'm not trying to be here all day talking about 15 hours of wrestling. So just try to, you know, touch on some important things. Just give my quick views, you know, on certain things. If you get a chance on the channel, check out the Street Fighter V Brother versus Brother series, where ESP and I go head to head in Street Fighter battles, and look forward to a good week of wrestling coming up. You know, we got a lot of good things that are happening. So until then, guys, you know, take care, and I'm just saying.
Fist in my pocket.